Welcome back. Double Cheer, brought to you by our friends at LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute. I'm hoping Dr. Craig Bennett can put my elbow back together. I'm kind of kidding, but I do have a little bit of pain there, a little tenderness. So I got to go see my friends out there at Foundry Row. World-class care right where you are, a state-of-the-art facility. And our great sponsor, we'll hear from Dr. Kevin Crutchfield on concussion and head-related injuries. A little later in the week, it's LifeBridge Health Sports Medicine Institute. Also brought to you by our friends at the Model Lyric, where John Mellencamp's going to be bringing the Pink Houses in on February 20th. And I will be in the house. My face will be in the place. There's always magic at the Model Lyric. You can learn more at model-lyric.com. There's always magic at BaltimoreRavens.com as well, because Ryan Mink and Garrett and the crew are always doing the good work with Michelle Andres out there in and around the games. Ryan Mink joins us now live via satellite from Owings Mills, where it'll be a short practice week, a long flight out to, San Diego, L.A., Carson, wherever the Chargers are playing these days. What a week of football here for the holidays, Ryan Mink, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is about as big a game as you can get, and it's going to be a hugely important one for the Ravens' playoff chances for sure.
Well, look, you work for the team, right? So I want to give you a chance to praise John Harbaugh, because I did that. Because we're going to talk Lamar, and we'll talk strategy and all that. But all of a sudden, the numbers start to stack up. You know what I mean? We're all these years in, and here we are again, and the team's 8-6 after being 4-5. And it took me, an hour after the game. I came home, I did a segment with Luke, and I thought, you know what? I need to tweet something out about what kind of a coach John Harbaugh is, because for 2 weeks during the bye, he heard he didn't have a quarterback. He heard he wasn't going to have a job, the mutual parting, all of that stuff. And here we are going into Christmas week, hanging purple lights up, and John Harbaugh is leading a team that is in a position to be a playoff team in January.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think John's done a great job this year. I mean, you look at really the signs of a good job by a head coach. Is the team prepared to play? Absolutely. I mean, is the locker room tight? Absolutely. Are they on the mission? Do they believe in the cause? Absolutely. I mean, Eric Weddle said yesterday he thinks that this is maybe the tightest locker room that they've had since he's been here. Now, he hasn't been here super long, but, that says something. I think John has done a good job of motivating these guys, getting them ready to play. You saw a team yesterday that, they were coming off a tough loss to Kansas City. I was worried about a hangover, and they didn't really have that. I think they came out slow because of the rain, not because of the way that they were mentally approaching the game. And to your point, too, I think, John had definitely a lot of heat on him. From outside, there's a lot of talk about whether he was going to remain the coach, and I thought that he handled all that really well. He handled it with a little sense of humor, with not getting angry when it was talked about, by reporters or whatnot. He understood the situation, and he just took it square head on. And that's kind of the approach this team has taken. They lost 3 games in a row. They've taken it head on, and I think they've obviously put themselves in position to get in the playoffs.
The fascinating thing for me, being around the players, and the question I had after the game with Tampa, was 5 weeks into this thing and seeing what this offense has done. There are a lot of smart people around there, and I consider myself relatively smart about football, but I can tell you during the 2-week bye period, it never occurred to me, and I never heard it talked about anywhere, that, all right, so if this thing is going to really work, we're going to give this kid the ball. There's going to be these 10, 12, 14 play drives that hopefully end with 7 points, maybe end with 3. Either way, we burn 5, 6, 8 minutes off the clock, and whomever the other quarterback is, whether it's Matt Ryan or whether it's Jameis Winston or whether it's Ryan Fitzpatrick or, it doesn't matter who it is, he's not going to touch the ball, and we're going to win time of possession, and at some point we're going to be in close games, and we're going to be in better down and distance. We're always going to be in 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4, drawing from that playbook instead of 2nd and 13 or 2nd and 12 or 2nd and 9 or whatever it's going to be. There's some statistical thing. There's some money ball going on here. There's some weird stuff, because I think on the outside, no one would look at an offense that never wants to pass the ball in 2018 and say, yeah, let's go win with that. But I didn't see how all of this, it's kind of like chiropractic care, right? It's kind of like how it's all intertwined together in this game plan, because it's about a lot more than just Lamar Jackson, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different style of playing football. It's very counterculture right now. I mean, nobody's really doing this, and you do have to definitely credit John Harbaugh and the coaches, all the offensive coaches, and, Wink too, for definitely buying in. He was like, yeah, you want to get my defense fresher? Sure. I'm good with that,
Well, the defensive guys, you don't have to sell it to them, because if they had to go chase Lamar around for 60 minutes, their asses would be worn out. I mean, and on a week-by-week basis, right? That's what's happened here.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Moore told me, he was like, our defensive guys hated chasing Lamar down so much, A, it made them tired, and B, he made them look silly. So,
he hurt your feelings.
The defense was on board. But, yeah, I mean, to be able to completely change your offense, and now that was the beauty of what they were doing all along, was they had Joe running some RPO stuff, in training camp and whatnot. So they were kind of getting ready for this a little bit. They were practicing it somewhat, but still to be able to do it mid-season, take on a whole different identity. I mean, you go from one of the worst rushing teams to one of the best in the league. It's pretty crazy, And, so I think you have to give the Ravens a lot of credit. And I think a really interesting point in all this is that the Ravens are attacking teams where they're weak now, right? I mean, everybody has structured their defense to get after drop-back quarterbacks who are looking to make big plays and chase around these tight ends and these speedy little dudes. So defenses have gotten smaller and faster. You don't see the big inside linebackers with the neck roll anymore, right? And the Ravens are taking advantage of that. They're just smacking you right in the mouth in the middle of your defense. And so I think it's really interesting that they're kind of zigging when everybody else is zagging.
And stopping it feels like the damnedest thing for any of these teams. And I've watched the Chargers. And look, we've watched all of these teams try to play in various different ways. The most effective thing I've seen all year, which I know we have the ability to do with a healthy Joe Flacco now, is implement whatever that Drew Brees thing was, whatever that Cordell Stewart thing 25 years ago was, which is both and a hybrid. And for 6 months, Marty talked about this, John sold this, Flacco sold this, that at some point it was going to be this 70-30, 2/3, 1/3, a little bit of Lamar, a little bit of Joe. And I still think that if they're going to win in Houston next month, if they're going to win in Pittsburgh next month, if that's what they have to do, if they're going to win in New England next month, and obviously go back to Kansas City, I still think Joe Flacco is going to touch the football and is going to in some way be asked to contribute to help this team win. I just don't believe we've seen the end of number 5. And I think in a perfect world, had this thing not included an injury and a bye week and this lightning in a bottle effect, that ideally the thing they talked about for 6 months would be the most effective way to beat a good team on the road in January.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think, unless Lamar gets injured in a game or whatnot, knock on wood that doesn't happen, I think, which could very well happen, really, I think that's the only time that we're going to see Joe Flacco touch the ball. And I just think that it's Lamar's show now. I really, and that's a gut feeling that I have, that it's Lamar's. I mean, yesterday, I think...
I don't disagree with you, but I think there might come a need. I think you go out to San Diego and he starts kicking the ball around like he has done, throws a ball up for grabs, and all of a sudden, if you're losing 17-3 or 17-6, I think you have to tap Joe on the shoulder at some point in the third or fourth quarter, I would think.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they get down big and you're in obvious passing situations, that the Ravens are going to say, well, Joe gives us the best chance to win right now. It's still Lamar's show. He's still a starter. But in this game, right now, given the situation, Joe gives us the best chance to win. I do agree with you that can happen. I don't see that happening just because of the formula the Ravens have right now. The defense is playing really well, and I think the offense is moving the ball. But you never know. I mean, like you said, Lamar could throw. He had a pick dropped early in Sunday's game. And, if the train comes off the tracks, then yes, I could see Joe coming in, but I just don't see it happening.
Ryan Mink, I'm sorry.
Sorry to cut you off. You know why I see that is because I think at this point you know what you're getting, right? You know you're going to get a good ground game. You are going to get some mistakes and turnovers and fumbles, and Lamar needs to clean that stuff up. But every week now you can at least count on they're going to run the ball well, Lamar's going to run the ball well. They're going to make some plays. And so it's almost for the inconsistency that Lamar gives you as a rookie quarterback, he also gives you more of a degree of consistency in a weird way.
Well, certainly consistency on second down and distance. Ryan Mink is our guest. He is Ryan Mink, out on Twitter, of course, at BaltimoreRavens.com. Opinions are all his, and they're not Harbaugh's or Ozzy's or Bashadi's or mine or anybody else's, and he wears better suits than I do. And you can find him out on the talk about the Lounge podcast. I mean, I wouldn't know about it because I've never been invited on it or anything, you know.
We don't really have media members on too much, so you're not alone. But we have a good time with Garrett and I primarily, and we oftentimes have players on for kind of more in-depth conversations. We had Robert Griffin III on a couple weeks ago for a really great conversation after he saw his first significant action in a little while. So it's a fun interviews. Garrett and I, we chop it up and, get on each other and make fun of each other relentlessly. So it's fun. We have a good time, and I encourage everybody to listen on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for The Lounge or search for Ravens, and you'll find it.
I think one thing we talk about a lot, Luke and I, are who are the emerging players around here and who is our next Ed Reed, our next Ray Lewis. Not to say that, but the next guy that's going to get a contract. Brandon Williams was that guy and getting himself paid. Obviously all of the first-round draft picks and the lottery picks, the Ronnie Stanleys, we're waiting for, I used to say grass skirts, but they don't play the damn thing in a Y anymore, and it's Team Dion and Team whomever. I don't know how you make a football all-star game any good, but you know where I'm going with this, with Yonda and Suggs and even Weddle being on the other side of this. Marlon Humphrey has stepped up in the last month or 2 months to say, I'm that guy. I'm the guy out of Alabama. I'm the guy Ozzie took a chance on, and I'm going to be the next star player around here. And I think Luke pointed this out in the interview room as Harbaugh took the podium. Lamar came in the room, then Marlon came in the room. And I think a lot of us were looking there and saying, hey, where's Joe? Where's Sizzle? Ray doesn't live here anymore, and all of a sudden there are these two 20-year-old kids who are the future, who just won a game at home in the mud, putting a team in a playoff position. And if we're going to talk about emerging football players and what's gone wrong with the Matt Elam drafts and where, how Bashad Perryman is suddenly catching balls in Cleveland, that we should talk about Lamar Jackson and Marlon Humphrey, because Marlon Humphrey has sort of started to elevate into this place where we're going to be talking about him every week and keeping our eye on him. And there might come a point where the Ravens have to give him $60, $80 million or something to keep him around, huh?
Yeah, completely. I think that, they drafted Marlon to be a shutdown number one corner. He knew that. They knew that. Everybody knew that. And potentially replace Jimmy Smith eventually. And, that day could be near. And we are seeing a transition in this team. Some of these younger players, they're the nucleus now. Lamar, look at Orlando Brown. He looks like he's going to be here for a long time. Mark Andrews is really emerging as a young, great player in this offense. It's kind of turning over. And it's really interesting to watch out. And Marlon on defense, when you look at the Ravens' defense, it's number one defense in a number of categories, but you say, well, who's the MVP? It was tough to really say. I think after Sunday's game, it's a lot easier. And you point to Marlon Humphrey and say, that's the defense's best player right now.
Ryan Mink is our guest. You can find him out at Ravens.com, and he will be anywhere that the Ravens' good word is served from Southern California. San Diego, Carson, L.A. I know this. Phillip Rivers can play the game, and I talked to Weddle after the game Sunday, and I know of their famous romance and friendship and kinship and brotherhood and all of that good stuff. This is a weird week for Weddle, and watching Phillip Rivers conduct himself after the football game on Thursday night, late into the night. And I had him on my show 20 years ago when he was at North Carolina State, back when I was syndicated. And I've watched his thing out there in San Diego all these years. But boy, that dude's a warrior, and he's got that team in a position to do something special, and he looks like an MVP-ish kind of guy if the Mahomes kid weren't around. And we got to go out there and slay this giant this week. This is a tall task in a weird stadium, in a weird environment, with stakes that I think are even higher than even the league realized when they, flexed this game into Saturday night, and the Ravens went into the toilet and were 4-5 6 weeks ago.
Completely, yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of teams watching this game hoping for the Ravens to lose. It's going to be an awesome game. I think obviously the Chargers are going to be the favored team. They're one of the best teams in the AFC and in all the NFL. They're obviously going to be favored at home. But I think the Ravens have a real shot to win this game. The Ravens are playing good ball. They've elevated their game. I mean, they should have beat Kansas City in Kansas City. So I think that proves they're going to be in this game and be in every game. It's going to be tough. I mean, I think part of it depends on if Keenan Allen is going to play for the Chargers. Does Phillip Rivers have his full assortment? Is Melvin Gordon going to play? Most likely he probably will. But, yeah, I mean, Phillip Rivers is legit. I remember watching him, like you said, when he was at NC State. He came to Maryland when I was still a student there, and you could tell that dude already had the fire. I mean, I remember just yelling at him and heckling him from the stands because he came over to the Maryland student section and was like taunting us right in front of us, and we're all like, "Who is this guy? Who do you think he is?" He's continued to play with that fire. He's a fun guy to watch, and he knows what's riding in this game. I think a lot of teams right now want to keep the Ravens out of the playoffs because they know that they're going to be a tough team to deal with if they have to come across them, in January. So there's a lot riding on this game. I think the Ravens, if they're going to make the playoffs, I think they have to win this game. Just the way that it's looking right now, I don't know that the Ravens are going to get in at 9-7. I don't think they will. So it's one that the Ravens have to have. They have not won this kind of game in recent years. You think of the Christmas Day game in Pittsburgh, just these big games on the road against these tough opponents. They haven't won them. They've come up short in recent years, and that's been a big reason why they haven't gone to the playoffs. So
yeah, you lose big games in December, you don't get to play a game in January. It's as simple as that.
Exactly. That's just how it works. And unfortunately, all these games in December, it seems like they're always on the road against one of the best teams in the NFL. But hey, you gotta beat the good teams to be a good team, right? So this is their chance to get over the hump, and I expect it's an emotional game for Eric Weddle. I mean, you look at him; he was on the Antonio Brown immaculate extension. He's hanging off of him in that game. And the Ravens came up short. Ravens came up short in Kansas City, and Weddle was right near that play. He's been in the middle of some of these big moments. 4th and 12 last year to Tyler Boyd. Weddle was right near that play. So I think it's going to mean a lot to him to get the Ravens over the hump, win this game against a friend of his, and get the Ravens in the playoffs.
Yeah, Weddle was also standing over top of Ray Rice at 4th and 28 3/4 that he swears it wasn't for 29. But we're still having that argument. But now that he shaved the beard and he looks so handsome and dapper and he's so happy for winning, I don't bring those things up with him anymore. Hey, man, last thing for you, Ryan. It's just the thickness of all of this, right? When you say that now this thing becomes of we've got to win out in Carson or the season's really kind of going to be over based on other things that are going on. The weirdness of scoreboard watching at 6:50 and yelling at Tom Brady like, he's at Dover Downs and I'm in My Fair Lady. And I'm like, come on, Brady, move your ass. Let's go, And you're rooting against the Steelers. And, the scoreboard watching part of all of this gets taken away if you conduct your own business. You don't have to worry what Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger's doing on some field somewhere else if you get your business done on Saturday night. But this is a delicious race all the way through, I think, in the AFC with so many teams and now this emergence of the Colts and the Titans. This is more locked up than I think any of us would have even thought when we went out trick-or-treating on Halloween at 4 and 5, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the AFC has proven to be fairly strong. I mean, you look at the NFC right now, and it's like, does anybody want the 6th seed? Is anybody really deserving of that? And you look at the AFC is a completely different story. The Colts are playing really good ball, just shut out the Cowboys, who were super hot. The Ravens are playing good ball. The Titans are playing good ball. So, it's been interesting because some of the Titans of the AFC, I should say, the Patriots have lost games to some of those teams that typically they've won, and that's just made the race even tighter. I mean, the Patriots lost to the Dolphins and the Titans. So it's been really a very interesting race. This is what the NFL wants. They want everybody to be in the hunt late in the season, and it is exciting. But I start scoreboard watching it about week 2. I'm like, all right, who's going to be the teams that you can already chalk up the division title to, and who's going to be in the wild card race?
Yeah, but the problem with that is you see Oakland on your schedule in December and think, well, that's a bye. You see Cleveland on your schedule the last week after Christmas for New Year's, and you're like, show me the money, bring it in, and then all of a sudden you got to go play them. And, beating Oakland, beating Oakland wasn't easy for Pittsburgh, and obviously we're talking about the Chargers this week, and, okay, we get on the plane and somehow you survive, win by field goal or, whatever happens. I watched the Browns play the other night. That's not your daddy's Browns team there anymore.
Nope.
And the Perryman thing just makes me very nervous. Him coming in here. He looks like he's jumping like he did off that film when Mel Kiper's hair was jumping on draft day,
that would be a heck of a story if Rashad. Oh, that'd be a terrible story, but Rashad Perryman scores a big touchdown against the Ravens in Week 17, knocks them out. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Look, no matter what happens, if the Browns come in here 2 weeks from now, it's going to be 3:45, and it's going to be a 6-point game or 3. I mean, that's just the way the league is, and I think we all know that. And the upsets that have happened or almost happened, including the Ravens taking the Chiefs for all they were worth last week, to know that all that is sitting there is to not say, well, the Ravens are just going to lose if they have to go to Houston or New England or Kansas City or wherever they'd have to play in January. And it's not to say that the Steelers can't go beat the Saints, because they can, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it. The NFL is wacky, man. You never know what to expect. And yeah, I completely agree with you. The past several weeks I've been looking at that Browns game, Week 17, and saying that is not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, Baker Mayfield lives to rip people's hearts out. That dude, you think he's not going to be playing hard in Week 17? Come on. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be down to the wire. Just like I think the Ravens will be favored to beat the Browns at home, and they're going to be underdogs to the Chargers. Those games could go either way. So luckily, the Ravens are playing good football right now. I think they can play with anybody, including anybody in the playoffs. And now they got to get the job done.
The Ravens, an emerging team in the AFC. We'll see them in Carson, California on Saturday night. You can find Ryan Mink and The Lounge and all things Ravens.com at Ravens.com and anywhere the Purple Ravens flock and social follows. Ryan, rest up. Have a great holiday. We'll see you this week, pal.
All right, thank you, Nestor.
Ryan Mink can be found out on Twitter. You can find me out on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and streaming live on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. All of our WNST coverage brought to you by our friends at Cole Roofing. They sponsor our community and charity series here. If you have a great story, an event coming up, you're trying to raise some dough for a good cause, raise some awareness for an awesome cause, anytime into the winter and spring, even into the summer, I book up on Thursday mornings. Throw me an email, nasty@WNST.net. We will tell your story. The BuyAToyota.com audio vault tells our story. It's there 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. Our morning newspaper ships digitally to your email inbox each and every morning. That happens at 7 a.m. It's all brought to you by Planet Fitness at PlanetFitness.com. $5 down, $10 a month. And you're working out into the new year, keeping your resolution to get in the best shape of your life. I'm in pretty good shape, feeling good. I hope you are as well. Planet Fitness can help you with that. Also, the Maryland Jockey Club and Racing at Laurel Park, where they've expanded and improved the sports bar down there. Warm inside, great food, and great hot toddies as well. Down at Laurel Park, they're sponsoring our morning newspaper. The entries on the front of WNST.net as well as in our morning newspaper. Last but never least, any breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis will be here on Thursday from 3 until 5, driving you home. It is the SSV on WNST with Dennis Colazzos. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.